wake up, you commute, and you spend exactly 8 hours a day trading the absolute best years of your life for a paycheck. You sit at your desk, or you sweat on the job site, believing that your boss is compensating you for that time. But what if I told you that during those exact 8 hours, you are being completely robbed blind, and you do not even know it? While you are working tirelessly to build a better future, an invisible thief is quietly reaching directly into your bank account. This is not about unpaid overtime, and this is not about your taxes. This is a meticulously engineered financial crime. You are actively being stripped of your wealth every single second of the day, and nobody is going to prison for it. Let us look at the physical money you hold to understand how this massive scam actually works. Let us look at the physical money you hold. Look at a $50 bill. When you hold that piece of paper in your hands, it feels permanent. It feels safe. You have been heavily conditioned to believe that it is a solid rock of value and that it will magically hold its worth forever. But this is the most dangerous financial illusion of our modern generation. That paper currency is not a solid rock. It is a melting ice cube sitting right in the palm of your hand. Every single day the sun rises, the purchasing power of that money is melting away into nothing. When you go to the grocery store and you see that the price of a simple loaf of bread or a carton of milk has gone up yet again, your first instinct is to get angry at the store owner. You think the baker, the farmer, or the truck driver is just being greedy and raising prices to punish you. But they are not the ones stealing from you. The bread is not magically becoming more valuable or harder to bake. The brutal, terrifying truth is that the paper currency inside your wallet is simply dying. It is actively losing its physical power to purchase goods in the real world. You turn on the television, the wealthy politicians and the financial experts in expensive suits will confidently try to calm you down. They will use complicated economic jargon to confuse you, and they will tell you that this is just the natural inflation of a healthy economy. They desperately want you to believe that prices going up is just a normal, unavoidable force of nature, exactly like the wind or the rain. Do not believe their lies for a single second. Inflation is absolutely not a natural phenomenon. It is not an economic accident. It is a meticulously engineered mathematical system designed by a financial elite with one specific goal: to quietly confiscate the wealth that you traded your literal life to build. They are systematically stealing your time, your energy, and your children's future without ever having to break down your front door. And the weapon they use to commit the greatest financial heist in human history is not a gun or a ski mask. It is a massive industrial printing press. Let us step up to our whiteboard and draw a massive, delicious pizza. I want you to imagine that this single giant pizza represents all of the actual, tangible wealth inside your entire country. It represents every single house, every piece of farmable land, every barrel of oil, and every loaf of bread. The paper money in your wallet is not the actual wealth. The money is simply a paper ticket that you use to claim a slice of that real pizza. Now, let us say this pizza is cut into exactly 10 large equal slices, and there are exactly 10 paper tickets circulating in the entire economy. If you hold one of those tickets, you hold the absolute right to claim exactly 1/10 of the total wealth. It is a perfectly balanced mathematical equation. Your ticket has immense, solid value because the supply of tickets is strictly limited. But what happens when the S-tier politicians and the elite banking class decide they want to spend billions of dollars on new projects, foreign wars, or massive corporate bailouts, but they do not actually have the cash in their vault to pay for it? They cannot magically create more houses, more oil, or more farmland out of thin air. They cannot magically bake a second giant pizza. So they do the only thing they have the power to do. They turn on the massive industrial printing press, and they simply print 10 brand new paper tickets out of absolute thin air. They flood the system with fake paper. Now, look back at our whiteboard. We still only have that same single pizza representing the real wealth of the country, but now there are 20 paper tickets competing for it. What happens to the math? The pizza must now be sliced into 20 much smaller pieces to match the new tickets. Cutting the pizza into more slices does not magically create more food for the people. It simply makes every single slice significantly smaller. This is the brutal mathematics of the invisible theft. When the government prints billions of new dollars, they are not creating new wealth. They are simply slicing the existing pie into smaller and smaller pieces. They are mathematically stealing the purchasing power away from the ticket you already hold in your hand and transferring it directly to the new tickets they just printed for themselves. Your hard-earned $100 bill now only buys a fraction of what it used to, because the new money they printed sucked the value right out of your wallet. They fire up the printing press to fund their massive spending, and you are the one left to pay the brutal bill at the grocery store checkout line. But you have to ask yourself a deeply terrifying question. Why would the people in charge actually do this? Why would they intentionally destroy the purchasing power of their very own currency? The answer is pure, engineered greed. Because inflation is not an economic mistake made by confused politicians. It is the most brilliant, invisible, and deeply perverse tax ever invented in the history of human civilization. Imagine if the government suddenly went on television and announced they were permanently raising your income tax to 60%. If you looked at your Friday paycheck and saw that more than half of your hard-earned money was legally confiscated before you even touched it, there would be absolute, uncontrollable chaos. People would instantly march in the streets, burn cars, and demand a complete revolution. The S-tier politicians and central bankers know this perfectly well. They know they cannot tax the working class that aggressively without triggering a massive, violent uprising. So they created a brilliant, cowardly workaround. Instead of visibly reaching into your paycheck, they silently reach into the price of your daily groceries. They engineered inflation as the ultimate stealth tax. Because the average worker does not understand the complex mathematics of the printing press, they do not know who to actually blame. You get angry at the local gas station owner, your landlord, and the supermarket manager, while the true thief hides completely out of sight in the capital city. You cannot fight a robbery if you do not even realize you are being robbed. But you need to clearly understand that this stolen wealth does not just magically disappear into thin air. It is systematically and intentionally transferred. When the massive printing press gets turned on, that brand new, freshly printed money has to go somewhere. It goes straight to the very top of the pyramid. It is handed directly to massive corporate banks, giant defense contractors, and elite megacorporations. Because they receive the new money first, they get to spend it before the rest of the economy realizes what just happened. They use this fresh cash to buy up real estate, stocks, and hard assets at the old, cheaper prices. But as that newly printed money slowly trickles down through the system and finally reaches your local neighborhood months or years later, the mathematical damage is already done. The massive flood of paper has completely diluted the entire economy. By the time your boss finally gives you a pathetic 3% yearly raise, the price of your rent and your weekly groceries has already doubled. The S-tier effectively stole your purchasing power and used it to buy real assets for themselves, leaving you holding an empty, worthless bag. The system has completely inverted reality. You were taught your entire life that if you work hard, live below your means, and faithfully put your extra cash into a bank savings account, you will eventually become wealthy. But under this rigged system, you are being severely, financially punished simply for being a responsible, law-abiding citizen. Holding paper cash in a bank account or stuffing it under your mattress today is absolute financial suicide. The longer you hold on to their melting ice cube, the poorer you become. So, the ultimate terrifying question remains. If the entire game is rigged against you and your savings are mathematically programmed to melt away while you sleep, how do you possibly escape this massive, unstoppable machine of theft? The traditional working-class playbook has completely collapsed. Since you were a young child, your parents and your teachers handed you a very simple formula for financial success. They told you to go to school, get a stable job, live a frugal life, and save as much paper money as possible in a traditional bank account. They taught you to be a faithful, obedient saver. But what they completely failed to realize is that the fundamental rules of money have been violently altered. You cannot save your way to true financial freedom when the currency you are saving can be infinitely duplicated by a small group of unelected bureaucrats. Saving a fiat currency that is mathematically programmed to lose its purchasing power every single day is an absolute guarantee of permanent, lifelong poverty. The old game is officially over, and if you keep playing by those outdated rules, you will be systematically crushed by the machine. So, let us look at our whiteboard one last critical time. We draw our stick figure, but his mindset has completely evolved. He finally sees the paper money for what it truly is, a temporary melting ticket. Instead of hoarding those melting ice cubes in a useless savings account, he immediately takes action. He starts trading his rapidly dying paper tickets for real, tangible wealth that a government printing press absolutely cannot create out of thin air. He buys equity in cash-flowing businesses. He acquires scarce real estate. He invests in hard commodities, and he spends his tickets to build high-income skills that will make his labor universally valuable. He stops accumulating fake paper and starts building an untouchable fortress of physical and intellectual assets. He forces the S-tier system to work for him, instead of bleeding his daily energy to fund their endless printing machine. You cannot vote to stop the politicians from turning on the printing press. You cannot magically halt the crushing force of global inflation, and you cannot stop the cost of your daily survival from going up. But you have the absolute, undeniable power to build a personal financial shield. You can choose to stop hoarding fake money and start accumulating real, indestructible wealth. If you are finally tired of working 8 hours a day just to watch your purchasing power evaporate while you sleep, you need a radical new strategy. You need an escape plan. And that is exactly why I wrote the Phantom Protocol. This is not your grandfather's traditional budgeting book. It is a brutal, step-by-step financial survival manual designed to help the modern worker unplug from the collapsing fiat system. It will teach you exactly how to spot the invisible traps of inflation, stop hoarding melting ice cubes, and strategically convert your dying paychecks into hard, untouchable assets. If you are ready to stop paying the invisible tax and start playing the game like the financial elite, the link to the Phantom Protocol is waiting for you in the pinned comment below. Stop letting them steal your time, build your fortress, and I will see you on the outside.